Let's explore these mysteries. Rise together in today's video. Hidden volcano potential dangers. Beneath the thick sheets of Antarctic ice, scientists have discovered a vast network of volcanoes quietly at work. This system is not just scattered under the ice of West Antarctica. It stretches all the way to the ocean floor nearby, forming a hidden geothermal belt. Determining the exact number of volcanoes in Antarctica is still a formidable challenge. However, geophysical surveys and analyses of unusual heat flows suggest that this region could harbor more than 100 volcanoes, both large and small, many of which remain active to this day. The impact of these subglacial volcanoes on both the ecosystem and the global environment cannot be underestimated. The heat released from fissures and volcanic vents accelerates the melting of glaciers, especially in areas such as the Pine Island and Thwaites glaciers, those so-called weak points of the Antarctic ice sheet. As the ice becomes destabilized, the world faces not only the risk of rapidly rising sea levels, but also dramatic shifts in regional climate patterns should a major volcanic eruption occur beneath the ice. The consequences could far surpass anything science currently predicts. Beyond triggering a sudden and massive melt and releasing vast quantities of fresh water into the oceans, such eruptions could send dust and toxic gases high into the atmosphere, setting off a chain reaction that affects global climate cycles. Geological models indicate that just one powerful eruption could be enough to trigger the collapse of ice masses weighing hundreds of trillions of tons, causing sea levels to surge to heights that would threaten countless coastal cities. The existence of these hidden volcanoes means that Antarctica is more than just a record keeper of Earth's climate. It also holds natural hazards capable of sparking massive upheavals in the future. Gaining a deeper understanding of the region's geothermal structure and the activity of these underground volcanoes is key to helping humanity predict and prepare for the extreme scenarios that changes in Antarctica could bring to the Antioch planet. Traces of a prehistoric village beneath an Italian lake. The archaeological investigation beneath Lake Bolsena has yielded direct evidence of an Iron Age community that once thrived in this region before rising water levels swallowed the ancient village. Among the most remarkable discoveries is a small, unfinished clay figurine, still bearing the clear fingerprint of its maker. This artifact was found together with wooden posts, pottery shards, house foundations, and various household items scattered across the lake bed, all pointing to a well-developed wateride settlement where homes were constructed on timber piles driven deep into the substrate, creating a unique architectural system built to adapt to frequent flooding. Archaeological data from the lake bottom provides the first tangible proof of pile-dwelling techniques in Central Europe, reflecting the creativity and social organization of prehistoric inhabitants. The building materials, mainly wood and clay, were carefully processed to withstand harsh environmental conditions, allowing these structures to survive the region's weather, floods, and constantly changing water levels. Most striking of all, the fingerprint pressed into the clay figurine stands as a deeply personal trace, offering a glimpse into the working lives of the community and the direct involvement of each member in the process of craft production. Beyond the technical aspects, the sudden submergence of the village by rising lake waters captures a record of geological and environmental upheaval caused by climate changes in the post-glacial era. The need for the community to repeatedly adapt their building patterns, relocate, or ultimately abandon the settlement altogether reveals just how profoundly nature shaped the course of human society. Stratigraphic analysis, remnants of ancient plants, and animal samples from the surrounding area have enabled researchers to reconstruct a picture of the local environment, climate, an ecosystem as it existed over 3,000 years ago. This discovery not only helps unravel the adaptive strategies of prehistoric people facing climate challenges, but also expands our understanding of community organization, building techniques, and patterns of migration and demographic change through the ages. The underwater archaeological record adds valuable data to the broader story of prehistoric Mediterranean civilizations, highlighting the region's critical role in the global journey of human evolution. Megalodon teeth. In the wreck of the Titanic. In 2023, a large-scale digital survey of the North Atlantic seafloor produced a rare and intriguing find. A fossilized megalodon shark tooth attached to a necklace discovered within the debris field of the Titanic. At the same time, deep-sea robotic expeditions continued to collect megalodon tooth samples from submerged mountain ranges nearly 2,000 m below the surface. The discovery of megalodon fossils in such exceptional locations raises many questions about the transport, distribution, and preservation of fossils over millions of years. At the Titanic site, the megalodon tooth necklace was found during a comprehensive 3D imaging survey of the shipwreck and the wider debris field, which covers more than 3 square miles. Notably, this is the first time a personal artifact combining a fossil and modern jewelry has been identified at a historical site with a precisely known timeline. Experts believe that the megalodon tooth was likely a collectible brought on board by a passenger, reflecting a growing fascination with paleontology during the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Scientifically, while Megalodon disappeared around 3 million years ago, its fossils still appear in oceans worldwide. From shallow coastal waters to the deep-sea evidence of geological adaptation and the movement of sediment across geological eras. Additional discoveries offshore, especially on seamounts in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, allow scientists to compare the fossilization process in different environments. These findings prove that megalodon teeth are not just coastal relics. They can be swept far from shore and deposited on distant oceanic shelves. Fossil analysis helps trace the wide distribution of megalodon populations and sheds light on the evolutionary path and extinction of the largest shark ever known. From an interdisciplinary perspective, the combination of modern archaeology and paleontology not only broadens our knowledge of Neoene marine life, but also hints at the surprising ways ancient objects continue to circulate and evolve across human cultures, forging unexpected links between the natural past and modern history. Strange ancient creatures that survived for millions of years. Studies in Antarctic biology have revealed the existence of numerous ancient life forms capable of surviving extreme environmental conditions, with some persisting continuously through millions of years of Earth's changing climate. Especially noteworthy are small organisms like springtails, mites, nematodes, and certain single-celled microbes that have been found scattered beneath rocks, in soil, and within the crevices of the Transantarctic Mountains, where the icy continent meets rugged peaks left largely exposed by the surrounding snow and ice. Field surveys in these remote areas using both manual techniques and modern genetic technology show that these organisms have endured steadily from the time when Antarctica was a warm forested land right up to the present when it has become cold and barren. Their biology is unique. Many have developed extraordinary adaptations, such as entering deep hibernation, altering their metabolism to survive repeated freeze-thaw cycles, and coping with environments nearly devoid of sunlight, water, and nutrients. Some even produce special cold-resistant proteins that protect their cells from ice damage. The discovery of these ancient populations opens up new directions for research into evolution, genetics, and adaptation, both at the microbial level and in terms of their role in the nutrient cycles of extreme ecosystems. This work also provides a basis for assessing the potential for life in harsh environments elsewhere on Earth or even beyond our solar system. These findings not only clarify the development of life in Antarctica, but also lay the groundwork for theories about the possible existence of life on icy worlds like Europa or Enceladus. Rome. In the context of ancient Rome, religion was not limited to traditional rituals but absorbed many new beliefs, among which the Mithraic cult stood out for centuries. This faith arrived from ancient Iran, rooted in the worship of Mitra, a deity associated with light, truth, and oaths. It flourished in Roman society, especially from the 1st to the 4th century CE. What set the Mithraic cult apart was its secrecy and system of rituals reserved only for initiates, primarily men from the ranks of soldiers, merchants, and officials. Ceremonies were typically held in artificial caves or underground chambers designed to represent a miniature cosmos, highlighting the mystery cult aspect. The ritual system was divided into 7 ranks, each representing a stage of spiritual evolution, beginning with Korax, the raven, and culminating in part, the father, the highest rank, symbolizing inner transformation and community unity. Mithraic mythology tells the story of Mitra's victory over the sacred bull, from whose blood and flesh sprang plants, life, and the cycles of time. This image is tied to themes of rebirth and sacrifice, underlining the god's role in maintaining life and cosmic order. The central ritual of the cult was a communal banquet seen as an emblematic ceremony of shared bonds between believers and their deity. The mythic cult flourished in major cities and military camps across the Roman frontier, leaving archaeological traces throughout Europe, from Britain and Germany to the Balkans, Italy, and North Africa. This popularity reflected a desire for a more personal faith, one that emphasized inner experience and companionship among like-minded individuals during a period of social upheaval in Rome. However, by the 4th century, as Christianity became the official religion, mystery cults like Mithraism quickly faded and disappeared. The underground temples of Mitra were gradually forgotten, and most of the cult's rituals and knowledge vanished into history. Still, the legacy of a religion focused on sacred experience. The meaning of sacrifice and secret ritual continues to fascinate modern scholars, shedding light on the religious history of the ancient Western world. The Nazi conspiracy theory and the secret Antarctic base. The story of New Swabia, the secret base allegedly built by the Nazis in Antarctica during World War II, remains one of the most enduring and famous conspiracy theories surrounding the icy continent. This legend weaves together real historical events and unproven speculation, creating a narrative that is equal parts fact and fantasy, casting Antarctica as a land of shadows and secrets. Historically, in 1938-1939, Nazi Germany launched a major expedition to Antarctica known as the Deutsche Antarktik Expedition, led by Captain Alfred Richer. The official purpose of the mission was to survey and map the coastline of Queen Maud Land and to search for potential sites to build whaling stations and secure whale oil supplies. The expedition, named the area Novarbonand, conducted wide-ranging aerial photography and planted flags to stake claims along parts of the coast. While historical records show that the expedition established only temporary survey stations. After the war, rumors began to circulate and conspiracy theories took root, suggesting the Nazis had constructed a vast military base deep beneath the Antarctic ice. According to some unofficial sources, This base was more than a research outpost. It was a secret refuge for high-ranking Nazi officials, with claims that some members of Hitler's inner circle may have fled there when the war ended. Such theories often describe New Swabia as a sprawling underground complex equipped with self-sufficient infrastructure, secret runways, deep ice shelters, and even independent power drawn from geothermal springs. Some versions link the area to clandestine weapons programs, advanced technology experiments, or even alleged alliances with extraterrestrial beings. Yet, all these tales are built on hearsay, unverified documents, or outright fiction. To this day, no official German or international archives have uncovered any evidence of a permanent base or significant Nazi military presence in Antarctica after the 1939 expedition. More than half a century of scientific exploration has yielded no trace of long-term military occupation from that era. Nevertheless, the allure of the New Swabia conspiracy refuses to fade. The theory continues to attract public interest, appearing in books, films, and alternative research forums, and remains part of the mysterious cultural law surrounding Antarctica. The continent's harsh, nearly inaccessible nature only adds to the legend, fueling the idea of a hidden Nazi stronghold locked away in the eternal ice. Discovery of a new civilization in the Venezuelan jungle. Deep in the dense rainforests of southeastern Venezuela, a recent archaeological discovery has transformed scientists' understanding of South American history. Here, a team of researchers has identified 20 sites with ancient rock art hidden among red cliffs and mist-shrouded mountain slopes. They found painted and carved motifs grouped in sequences position so that sunlight only reaches them through the thick canopy at certain times of the year. On the rock faces, geometric patterns, spirals, straight lines, clusters of dots, star shapes, and swirling forms combine into abstract structures, all rendered in natural pigments made from local earth and minerals. Remarkably, not a single symbol repeats between the sites, a testament to the diversity and creative consciousness of these ancient artists. While South American scholars once assumed that the region's rock art was influenced by known cultures from Brazil or Colombia, the patterns found in Cana are strikingly distinct. They do not resemble any prehistoric artwork previously discovered on the continent. Analyses of the incision marks, carving depths, and pigment layers reveal sophisticated techniques with clear intention, not simply the unconscious traces of early humans. These motifs seem to carry abstract meanings, possibly connected to ritual practices, human life cycles, natural phenomena, or the changing of seasons in the tropical forest. The archaeological team compared the designs with samples from northern Brazil dated to 4,000 years ago. However, the independent development and unique composition of the Kima art suggest it could be even older. It is entirely possible that the first peoples here developed a proto-civilization with their own belief systems, social organization, and the ability to travel along the great rivers of the Amazon system. Today, the Cana region covers an area almost as large as a small nation, harboring a unique ecosystem and a network of rivers that connect to the greater Amazon basin. With abundant resources and a favorable environment, this area may once have been the birthplace of an ancient culture that later spread via the waterways toward Colombia, northern Brazil, and beyond. The landscape and river systems provided natural corridors for movement across the forest, making interregional contact possible even in prehistoric times. The discovery of an independent rock art tradition unaffected by neighboring cultures not only raises questions about the origins and continuity of South American civilizations, but also compels scientists to reconsider the evolution of prehistoric society throughout the Amazon basin. For now, experts have only uncovered a small part of this mystery. Hundreds of sites remain hidden in valleys and gorges never visited by modern humans. The surface finds provide only the first clues, far from enough to decode the full cultural and social significance of what once existed deep in the forest. Though we cannot yet determine the timeline, name, or social structure of this anonymous civilization, archaeologists agree that Kima's rock art marks the presence of a creative, organized community with a clear concept of space, time, and the metaphysical world. Questions remain about the purpose of the art, the meanings of the motifs, and the roles of each site in the community's rituals. But it is certain that these ancient paintings are opening a new chapter in our quest to uncover humanity's unwritten past. The hypothesis of secret bases beneath the sea. Since the 1960s, the idea of constructing underwater bases has appeared in technical papers and research plans from the United States and other world powers. Scientific reports from the Stanford Research Institute and the American Aerospace Institute have shown that in theory it is possible to deploy large stable structures at great depth, from testing pressure-resistant materials to designing closed-loop systems for energy and air supply. Some projects even proposed modular components assembled underwater for military, scientific, or resource exploration purposes. In fact, by the late 20th century, indirect evidence began to spark debate about the existence of secret installations on the ocean floor. In 1968, a Stanford report proposed specific sites for secret base construction, including areas off the California coast. By 2014, satellite images and seabed surveys revealed unusual structures near Malibu around Point Dume. These formations were described as domes with supporting pillars, large entrances, and flat floors, fueling speculation about artificial installations for unknown purposes. Geologists and oceanographers remain divided over whether these are natural or man-made phenomena. Against a backdrop of increasing technological rivalry and security concerns, China has openly announced plans to build deep-sea research stations in the South China Sea. Since 2016, this project has been part of the national science agenda aimed at resource control and laying platforms for long-term strategic research. Some sources claim that similar secret projects are underway, intended to strengthen control over deep-sea space and tap into offshore resources. The theory of secret underwater bases raises many questions about the limits of modern engineering, humanity's ability to adapt to high-pressure environments, and the long-term impact of these activities on deep-sea ecosystems still poorly understood. On a geopolitical level, the emergence of clandestine artificial platforms could shift the balance of power at sea, expanding military and scientific activity into previously inaccessible regions. Transparency, resource management, and international cooperation are becoming ever more important as nations enter a new era in the race to explore the ocean's depths. The unexplained maps of Antarctica. The discovery of several ancient maps depicting Antarctica with detailed coastlines and even ice-free areas has raised profound questions among scientists and archaeologists. The most famous of these is the map drawn by Ottoman Admiral Piri Reis in 1513. This map remains controversial because it appears to accurately outline the Antarctic coast without ice, despite the continent officially being discovered only in 1820 and believed to have been buried under ice for millions of years. It does not end with the Piri Reis map. Other charts from the 16th to 18th centuries, such as those by Orontius Phineus and Philip Bosch, contain extraordinary details about Antarctica. These maps show the southern continent with wide rivers, complex canal systems, and dense forests completely at odds with the frozen wasteland we know today. Some researchers even point out that the coastline on these maps matches modern geological survey data about the bedrock beneath the Antarctic ice, lending weight to theories about forgotten ancient knowledge. This raises the issue: where did medieval topographers get the information to draw such detailed maps when there were no official expeditions to these lands? Did they have access to older sources, records from lost civilizations, or were these maps products of imagination or compilations from unreliable data? Many scholars lean toward the idea that these charts were copied and handed down from ancient geographic documents, possibly lost after catastrophic events like great floods or natural disasters that erased all surface traces. To this day, there is no definitive answer about the true origins of the ice-free Antarctic maps, nor any scientific proof that humans ever surveyed or mapped the continent in prehistoric times. Yet, the existence of these enigmatic maps continues to drive interdisciplinary research across geology, archaeology, and the history of crafty. They open new perspectives for reassessing ancient civilizations' knowledge, as well as the possibility that stretches of humanity's history remain hidden in the mists of time, traces of a lost continent. With the advance of satellite technology and modern surveying equipment, scientists have been able to peer deep beneath Antarctica's thick ice, revealing layers of ancient rock that lie hidden below the continent's surface. Thanks to satellite gravity maps combined with seismic and geological data, the underlying bedrock of Antarctica is now coming into focus. Research indicates that beneath the ice are fragments of ancient continental crust, hundreds of millions of years old, that were once connected to other parts of the Earth. These discoveries support the theory that Antarctica was once part of the Supic continent Pangaea. During the Age of Pangaea, all the world's land masses were joined into a single giant expanse, stretching from pole to pole and allowing species to migrate and flourish across enormous distances. Over time, tectonic movement broke Pangaea into separate blocks, and Antarctica drifted to its current southern position, becoming entombed in ice. Although there is still no direct evidence of a civilization like Atlantis buried beneath the ice, geological data show that these ancient crustal fragments truly were once pieces that fit perfectly with South America, Africa, India, and Australia. The edges of the Antarctic continent under the ice have structures, compositions, and geochemical signatures remarkably similar to the coastal zones of those other land masses, painting a picture of movement and separation over hundreds of millions of years. This discovery not only helps unravel the formation and division of the continents, but also opens new avenues for research into the region's climate history, ancient ecosystems, and the possibility of uncovering biological evidence of life that once existed there. The geological puzzle pieces beneath Antarctica's ice are helping complete the story of Earth's dynamic past, while also raising intriguing questions about what still lies unrecorded in the annals of human history. The legendary city of Darura in Hinduism. Underwater archaeological research off the coast of the Gulf of Cam has confirmed the existence of a complex of submerged architectural ruins dated to around 900 B.C. This site is closely linked to the legend of the city of Dara as told in the epic Mahabharata, a city said to have been founded and ruled by the god Krishna only to be swallowed by a catastrophic natural disaster. Findings from pottery shards, stone structures, foundation remains, and household artifacts at the site provide multiple points of comparison with India's prehistoric cultural layers. However, because it has not been possible to precisely date the largest architectural blocks, the true timeline for this city remains a matter of ongoing debate. The artifacts recovered from the seabed sediments indicate the existence of a major urban community developing in parallel with the ancient cities of the Ganges Plain. These initial results suggest that the legends of mythical cities in Hindu literature may be rooted in real historical events, locations, and climate upheavals in the region's past. This discovery calls into question the boundaries between religious memory and archaeological fact. The realization that a city long thought to be mythical may have actually existed only to be lost in an environmental catastrophe lends weight to the theory that many epic motifs and ancient myths reflect real events. Natural disasters, population shifts, and the rise and fall of urban centers. Though much remains to be verified, Dara is now a focal point for interdisciplinary research connecting archaeology, paleontology, myth studies, and ancient South Asian climate change, prehistoric civilizations beneath the sea. Archaeological discoveries on the floors of the English Channel and the Black Sea have profoundly changed our understanding of prehistoric human habitation in Europe and neighboring regions. Using modern technology to survey the seafloor, scientists have uncovered numerous sites with clear evidence of ancient human life, including house foundations, wooden piles, barriers, pottery shards, flint tools, and the remains of structures once belonging to communities that lived along ancient lands, now entirely submerged. In the English Channel, the area that now separates Britain from mainland Europe was once the vast plain of Doggerland between 506. 500 years ago, this was a landscape of rivers, lakes, forests, and grasslands, ideal for thriving hunter-gatherer groups. Evidence such as stone tools, blades, bone fragments, house-like structures, fences, hunting grounds, and hearths all paint a picture of a vibrant, active society. Analysis of ancient pollen, plant remains, and animal bones has helped reconstruct the ecosystem of that era. As the last ice age ended and sea levels rose, water inundated the land, forcing ancient people to adapt, migrate to higher ground, or disperse into Western Europe, Britain, and Scandinavia. The entire Dogland culture was eventually submerged, leaving only traces buried beneath today's seabed. The Black Sea is also a critical archaeological zone with discoveries of prehistoric cultures that once thrived along its shores before being drowned by rising waters. Scientists have identified wooden ruins, stone foundations, domestic tools, pottery, and implements made of bone or flint. This archaeological evidence clearly shows that before the Black Sea reached its current size, the area was a fertile valley home to communities that farmed, herded animals, and hunted when Mediterranean waters rushed into the Black Sea some 500 years ago. A massive flood wiped out these settlements, forcing the population inland and spawning legends of great floods in the ancient Middle Eastern tradition. Findings from both regions are proof of dramatic climate, hydrological, and landscape changes after the Ice Age, confirming that today's submerged lands were once home to thriving, socially organized communities with their own technologies and artistic expressions. The rising sea levels accelerated migration and cultural mixing, laying the foundation for new cultures on land and helping shape the map of ancient human settlement. These discoveries also provide a scientific basis for global legends of sunken cities, lost lands, and civilizations drowned in folk memory. They supply models for studying the long-term effects of changing seas on the development, spread, and transformation of early human societies. The Los Atlantis Seamount off the Canary Islands. The Los Atlantis seamount deep beneath the waters off the Canary Islands has become a major focus of deep-sea geology and a central figure in theories linking it to the legend of Atlantis. Using sonar mapping of the seabed, geologists have charted this massive undersea mountain, which features 3 large volcanic craters and covers nearly 50 kilometers in circumference. Sediment and stratigraphic analysis reveal that during the Eocene epoch about 56 million years ago, the summit of Los Atlantis actually rose above the surface, forming an isolated island group in the Atlantic Ocean. Prolonged volcanic activity helped create ancient beaches now preserved as sand layers 60 m below the waves. Their traces still visible in the seamount's geological structure. The sinking of Los Atlantis is explained by the end of volcanic activity combined with the sheer weight of accumulated sediments and tectonic plate movement, which gradually lowered the islands relative to sea level. This process continued through multiple ice ages and interglacial periods, changing the region's appearance entirely. As the glaciers melted at the end of the last ice age, sea levels rose quickly, drowning all traces of ancient beaches and islands. Today, these fossil beaches survive only as sediment layers on the ocean floor, a silent record of the vibrant coastal ecosystem that once existed there. From an archaeological perspective, Los Atlantis stands as a real-world model for the origins of the Atlantis myth. As recorded by the Greek philosopher Plato more than 2 millennia ago, ancient texts describe Atlantis as a prosperous land beyond the Pillars of Hercules, that is outside the Mediterranean, a location matching today's Canary Islands. Plato wrote that Atlantis disappeared in a catastrophic flood, its civilization swallowed by the sea overnight. Modern geological evidence of Los Atlantis sinking during the end of the Ice Age aligns with ancient flood myths that appear in cultures from the Middle East to Europe. Multidisciplinary research suggests that the loss of vast coastal lands remembered in oral traditions over millennia could be the foundation for legends of vanished civilizations like Atlantis. In the case of Los Atlantis, the existence of ancient beaches and deep-sea sediments shows the area was once habitable, possibly even home to large animal populations, or at least in theory, prehistoric human communities. However, no artificial artifacts have yet been found to confirm human presence in more recent times. Today, Los Atlantis remains the subject of lively academic debate about the interplay between geology and human legend. Some scientists argue that global environmental upheaval and the disappearance of coastal regions due to rising seas created the real-life backdrop for stories of sunken civilizations. While much remains unproven, the case of Los Atlantis adds a new piece to the puzzle of historical truth behind ancient myths, underscoring the essential role of deep-sea geology in uncovering hidden chapters of our planet's past. Supervolcanoes and civilization, destroying events. Earth's history is marked by natural disasters on a global scale, with supervolcano eruptions playing a key role in changing the climate and devastating civilizations. One of the most famous examples is the eruption of Thera, or the Menawan volcano, about 3,500 years ago on the island of Santorini in the Mediterranean. According to geological studies, the energy released in this event equaled hundreds of nuclear explosions, creating massive tsunamis and covering a vast region from Europe to Asia in volcanic ash. The immediate result was the near-total collapse of the local ecosystem, bringing down economic and social systems in its wake. Archaeological evidence shows that the Minoan civilization, once a center of trade, technology, and architecture in the Mediterranean, disintegrated after this disaster. The wide dispersal of ash caused global temperatures to drop, altered climate patterns, and led to years of crop failure, famine, disease, and prolonged instability. Such extreme climate events likely occurred elsewhere. 2. Contributing to the downfall or weakening of ancient civilizations, including many never recorded in history. This idea is supported not only by sediment analysis, ice cores and fossil records, but also by ancient legends and historical texts which often describe dark ages following catastrophic events. By studying the impact of supervolcanoes and extreme climate events, scientists gain a clearer view of how the natural environment has shaped the rise and fall of civilizations. It also highlights the influence of unpredictable forces, disaster, geological change, and shifting climates in redrawing the map of human, cultural, and biological history over the ages. The oldest pyramids in the world on the coast of Brazil. The pyramid structures on the coast of Brazil reveal a little-known chapter in the evolution of South American civilization. Through stratigraphic surveys and isotope dating, archaeologists have determined that these shell pyramids were built around 3000 B.C., contemporary with or even predating the more famous pyramids of Egypt. These Brazilian pyramids are impressive in scale, with their original heights reaching over 30 m and their bases covering dozens of acres. The structures were built primarily of accumulated seashells interlaced with layers of soil, stone, and organic remains. Excavations have uncovered hundreds of burial pits scattered through the shell layers, along with carved stone slabs depicting whales, marine animals, and abstract symbols. The burial traces and ritual artifacts indicate that the shell pyramids served as collective ceremonial burial sites and as social centers for prehistoric coastal communities. Beyond their material value, the carved stones reflect artistic expression, symbolic thinking, and the social organization of their builders. Archaeological evidence confirms these pyramids were created by indigenous South American groups, independent communities with complex belief systems and ceremonial organization from an early period. Over time, most of the structures were damaged or mined for building materials, leaving less than 10% intact today. The accumulated layers of shells built up over generations stand as living witnesses to the evolution of society, marking the emergence of communities, changes in the coastal environment, and migration to new lands. Most of the stories and legends about the creators of these structures have been lost. Modern research has only begun to reconstruct the ancient civilization that once flourished along South America's coast. The discovery and study of the shell pyramids not only expands our understanding of regional history, but also reshapes our perceptions of prehistoric civilization centers in the Americas, highlighting the role of indigenous peoples in the creative and architectural achievements of humanity. The mystery of the divine city Teotihuacan. Teotihuacan, located on the central plateau of Mexico, stands out in human history for its scale, architecture, and influence surpassing many contemporary civilizations. The city flourished from the 1st to the 7th century CE, long before the Maya reached their peak and centuries before the Aztec appeared in the region. At its height, Teotihuacan was among the largest cities of the ancient world, with an estimated population over 100 and iconic structures such as the Pyramid of the Sun, Pyramid of the Moon, and the Avenue of the Dead stretching for miles across the city's core. What makes Teotihuacan truly unique is the mystery surrounding its origins. There are no records or native legends identifying its founders or explaining why it was suddenly abandoned in the 7th century. When the Aztecs arrived much later, they were so struck by the pyramids and avenues that they believed only gods or ancient giants could have built such wonders. The name Teotihuacan given by the Aztecs means the place where gods were born, reflecting their awe and reverence for the ruins. Archaeological research shows that Teotihuacan was once a leading cultural, commercial, and religious center in ancient Mesoamerica. The city brought together people from diverse ethnic backgrounds, including Totonac, Zapotec, Maya, and Otomi, and demonstrated advanced urban planning, water management, residential zoning, and ritual spaces. Finds such as murals, artifacts, statues, and obsidian workshops indicate that Teotihuacan was a great crossroads, maintaining close ties with regions like the Maya Highlands, Oaxaca Valley, and the Gulf Coast. Its influence spread not only through material culture, but also through the religious, artistic, and architectural traditions of neighboring civilizations. One of the great unresolved questions of modern science is what caused the decline and abandonment of Teoti. Some theories suggest prolonged climate change leading to food crisis, internal conflict, uprisings among laborers, or adverse environmental events such as drought. However, there is no definitive evidence for any single explanation. What is clear is that Teotihuacan's collapse created a power vacuum, paving the way for new cultures such as the Toltec and Aztec to emerge and inherit its religious, architectural, and technological achievements. Today, Teotihuacan is not only a major archaeological site in the Americas, but also a focus for interdisciplinary studies of urban history, ecological and social dynamics, and the evolution of ancient civilizations. The city continues to inspire the public imagination and stands as a symbol of human creativity, power, and enduring mystery, the horse monster of the Philippines. Studies of Southeast Asian folklore reveal that the appearance of the tikbalang in Philippine culture is not just a strange phenomenon, but the result of centuries of blended beliefs. The tikbalang is described as a creature with a human body and a horse's head with legs disproportionately long, striding through forests and plains in ways that defy natural logic. The oldest descriptions of the tikbalang come from prehistoric times when local communities believed in a deep connection between people and the spirit animals of forests and rivers. Anthropologists believe the tikbalang has roots in native animism, where every aspect of nature possesses its own will and power. With the arrival of Hindu influence from India in the early centuries CE, the tikbalang began to merge with mythic elements such as the horse-headed deity Hayagriya, a manifestation of Vishnu in ancient Indian law. This blending created a new layer of symbolism, so that the tikbalang was no longer merely a creature of fear, but also a guardian or keeper of the boundary between the world of humans and the realm of spirits. European missionary accounts from the 16th century recorded widespread belief in the tikbalang as both a terrifying and sacred entity. Many communities still hold rituals or taboos to avoid provoking the tikbalang's wrath. Thus, the tikbalang is not only a symbol of anxiety about the unknown, but also a reflection of the history of religious, social, and cultural adaptation among the people of the Philippines as they encountered new influences. The endurance of the tikbalang symbol shows the power of collective imagination and the persistence of symbolic patterns over generations. Modern scholars view the Tikbalang as a key to decoding community psychology and as vivid evidence of mythology's role in shaping cultural identity in the tropical Asia-Pacific. The ancient city beneath Fuxian Lake. The sunken city beneath Fuxian Lake ranks among the greatest mysteries in contemporary Chinese archaeology. A 2006 survey using modern technology revealed a massive architectural complex entirely underwater covering an estimated area of over 10 million square feet. Archaeologists reaching the lake bed found layers of stone walls, stepped foundations, large regularly arranged stone blocks and slabs bearing abstract carvings and unusual symbols. These features rule out any natural origin and demonstrate the organizational skill of the builders. The city's origins remain a puzzle. Some theories suggest it was once the administrative center of the ancient Dian Kingdom, founded during the Western Han period around 206 B.C. However, given its scale, construction methods, and actual size, other researchers believe the city could be even older. Local folklore around Fuxian Lake speaks of a city drowned by an unidentified disaster. But official historical records from that era are vague or silent on such an event. This creates a major gap in the flow of Chinese history and complicates theories about the city's origin. Notably, some carved stones feature circular motifs and radiating lines from a central point. Symbols similar to those found on artifacts from the spring and autumn period and from prehistoric cultures in southern China. These suggest the early development of solar worship and establish an archaeological link between the Fuxian Lake ruins and contemporaneous artistic traditions in the Yangtze and Yellow River basins. Preliminary dating of artifacts hints that some may be over 5,000 years old, a fact that, if verified, would dramatically alter our understanding of early southern Chinese society. The city's size surpasses anything described in traditional historical texts, prompting some scholars to question its relationship with the dynasties and ancient states that once existed around Yunnan. Many questions remain. Was the city lost to a natural disaster or to human action? Was it a center of power, religion, or simply an isolated ceremonial site? Currently, access is tightly controlled and archaeological results are published only gradually, fueling further speculation about the true cause of its disappearance and its place in Chinese history. The archaeological record of Fuxian Lake not only raises questions about what has been lost under the mud, but also stands as a testament to the historical gaps that modern science is still working to uncover. The submerged resort city of Baiai. Beneath the blue waters of today's Bay of Padali, the ruins of ancient Bay remain silent, a relic of the seafloor west of Naples. For centuries, Bay was a retreat and playground for Rome's elite, filled with grand villas, bathhouse, and harbors connecting the city to the Mediterranean. Underwater archaeological surveys have documented the remains of villas, marble floors, plazas, and a complex hydraulic system that once delivered mineral hot springs throughout the city. Geological records of the Pajulai coastline show that Bay was built on unstable ground directly above the Campi-Flieger volcanic field. Ancient records and modern stratigraphic studies confirm that seismic activity, including minor volcanic eruptions and repeated earthquakes, caused the land to subside. By the 16th century, this process reached its peak and much of the city slipped beneath the sea. A once thriving symbol of power and opulence became ruins on the seafloor in just a few generations. Bayer's disappearance was not only a result of natural forces, but was closely tied to the broader decline of the Western Roman Empire. Trade, politics, and administrative control withdrew from southern Italy. Resources to sustain and defend the resort also dwindled. The fate of Bay highlights the vulnerability of ancient coastal cities. Places that reached the heights of prosperity but were utterly dependent on geological stability and social infrastructure. Today, the submerged city of Bay serves as a natural archaeological laboratory, offering invaluable data on urban planning, building technology, and the lifestyle of Rome's upper classes. Its architectural fragments, artistic relics, and volcanic sediments allow researchers to trace the connections between climate change, geology, and the course of human history in the Mediterranean. The story of Bayer is inseparable from the rise and fall of civilizations, offering profound insights into environmental change, resilience, adaptation, and the inescapable limits that nature imposes on even the mightiest of cultures. The prehistoric migration in China, the discovery of an ancient culture on Pingington Island. China has brought about a turning point in our understanding of prehistoric migration and cultural exchange in the Asia-Pacific region. Archaeological evidence from deep sediment layers on the island shows that human groups lived and developed here over 7,500 years ago. They left behind clear traces of daily life pottery, groundstone tools, shell ornaments, house remains, and food storage pits. This array of artifacts reveals the community's organizational skills, adaptability to the marine environment, and expertise in utilizing the island's coastal resources. What's remarkable is that the structure and dating of artifacts from Pingon closely resemble those found in Aranesian cultures, stretching from Southeast Asia to the far islands of the South Pacific. Previously, the theory of Aranesian origins was based mainly on genetics, linguistics, and archaeology, pointing to Taiwan as the starting point for oceanic migration. However, finding a thriving interconnected community on Pingon, older than the earliest sites in Taiwan, raises new questions about where and when Aranesian society actually began. From the analysis of these artifacts, researchers suggest that Pingon's ancient inhabitants likely developed skills in boat building, paddle making, sea hunting, and domesticating marine animals, forming a relatively complex social structure. The continual presence of populations over millennia demonstrates that the island was a key hub for settlement, trade, and technological exchange with surrounding areas, helping to forge a network stretching from the mainland to offshore islands. This discovery compels scholars to rethink the Aranesian migration wave. It is now possible that people from coastal Fujian launched ocean journeys much earlier than those from Taiwan, migrating south toward the Philippines, Indonesia, and eventually throughout the Pacific. This scenario fits with certain genetic and linguistic patterns that survive in ancient Aranesian communities. The significance of Pingon's findings extends beyond rewriting migration history. It also expands our insight into prehistoric interactions, the relationship between people and island environments, and the capacity for technological innovation earlier than previously thought. These results are now driving broader interdisciplinary research. Archaeology, paleontology, genetics, and cultural anthropology along the East Asian coast, and the remote Pacific islands in hopes of uncovering even more about the origins and journeys of ancient human societies. The ancient Cyclopean walls of Italy. Archaeological and architectural studies across Italy have documented the presence of Cyclopean walls. massive constructions built from huge stones laid without mortar and fitted together with such precision that not even a knife blade can slip between the joints. These walls are found primarily in regions like Lazio, Umbria, Tuscany, and Molise, often forming the foundations of fortresses, religious sites, and even later Roman infrastructure such as aqueducts and roads. What stands out is that the Cyclopean construction technique does not match the hallmarks of classical Roman engineering. The Romans were renowned for their use of ancient concrete, arches, and finely carved columns. Yet Cyclopean stonework is usually found at the base with upper layers built using typical Roman methods. This reveals a clear spatial overlap, but a technical and stylistic discontinuity between two distinct phases of architectural development. Material and stratigraphic analyses indicate that many Cyclopean walls were built before Rome's rise, possibly by now vanished indigenous cultures that predate the Etruscans. Some scholars connect these walls to ancient Italic, Latini, or other migratory groups who lived in Italy long before Rome became dominant. In many locations, such as Palestrina, the blend is obvious. Polygonal or Cyclopean foundations support upper courses of brick or squared stone in a distinctly Roman style, showing generations of adaptation and reuse. Some sites like Alatri, Norba, Segni, Fentino, or various religious complexes in Lazio preserve Cyclopean walls hundreds of meters long and several meters high. These walls served both defensive and foundational roles, demonstrating a deep understanding of construction and the ability to organize large-scale labor in the ancient world. Despite their prevalence in central Italy, Cyclopean techniques are rare in areas strongly influenced by the Romans or Etruscans, suggesting one or more independent civilizations once thrived, but were later overshadowed by more dominant cultures. To this day, archaeologists have not determined who first devised this technique or what precise role these walls played in early Italian society. Still, their presence attests to a much deeper and more complex historical layer than usually appears in traditional Roman histories. The Cyclopean walls are not only an architectural legacy, but a profound mystery raising questions about origins, technology, and cultural transformation across the Italian peninsula, and opening new avenues for research into pre-Roman European history. Britain in Somerset, England. Archaeological discoveries at Gough's Cave have provided clear evidence of a prehistoric culture with rituals involving human skulls dating back to the end of the Ice Age around 15,000 years ago. Scientists here have found human remains marked by cuts, wear, and artificial fractures, indicating deliberate cannibalism as part of ritual practices, not merely a survival tactic during times of scarcity. The skulls found at Gough's Cave were specially processed, the tops cut flat, and the edges smoothed to create skull cups, ritual objects known among many late Stone Age hunter-gatherer communities across Europe. Surface analysis of the bones reveals parallel knife marks from stone tools, showing a methodical process of skinning and removing soft tissue, much like the preparation of animal carcasses for ceremonial feasts. Beyond cannibalism, strange carvings on the bones hint at symbolic marks or engravings, possibly tied to ancestor worship or rituals for transmitting knowledge and spiritual energy across generations. Some theories suggest these acts were not merely material but spiritual, reflecting connections between the living and the dead in prehistoric communities. These findings are changing our understanding of the spiritual life of ancient Europeans, showing that rituals involving human and skull bones were far more common than previously thought. Ongoing research continues to reveal cultural layers, shedding new light on the evolution of belief, art, and social practices in Britain and continental Europe. The existence of ancient rainforests and climates. Advances in geology and paleontology have allowed scientists to probe deeper into the climate and ecosystems of ancient Antarctica. By drilling through thick ice layers, researchers have extracted soil, pollen, plant fragments, and microfossils from beneath the seabed at the continent's edge. Detailed analysis reveals that some 90 million years ago during the Cretaceous period, Antarctica was not a frozen desert, but a vast tropical rainforest. Evidence from pollen, fossilized root structures, plant debris, and ancient soils proves that a tropical ecosystem once thrived there with giant ferns and ancestral flowering plants. Atmospheric CODS levels were higher than today, supporting warm average annual temperatures even during the long polar night of winter. Geological and isotope data also confirm that Antarctic seas once reached temperatures of 8,695 degrees Fahrenheit, warm enough for invertebrates, fish, and large reptiles to flourish. This discovery expands our understanding of global climate evolution and the great geological changes that shape today's continents. Antarctica was once joined to Australia and South America in the Suppic continent Gondwana before tectonic shifts pulled it southward and it began its long, slow freeze. These findings not only illuminate the planet's extreme climate history, but also raise new questions about possible ecosystems hidden beneath Antarctic ice and the potential to discover unique ancient fossils that could help decode Earth's environmental and biological transformations. WWE. Aircraft wrecks in the Papua New Guinea jungle. In recent decades, terrain surveys and military history research in Papua New Guinea have reported numerous discoveries of aircraft wrecks from World War II. One prominent example is the find by local teenager Willie Flynn, who followed local oral traditions and scattered wreckage in the East New Britain jungles. After searching across rivers, hills, and thick forest, Flynn located the remains of a Royal Australian Air Force fighter. Fragments of fuselage, wings, engine parts, and personal items like a watch and pilot's jacket were strewn across a hillside. Clear evidence of a violent crash likely caused by the rugged terrain or harsh weather. Historical records show Papua New Guinea was a key air corridor for Allied forces in the Pacific and many missions were lost to its difficult landscape, poor visibility, and unpredictable climate. This discovery adds new data on the many lost aircraft in the South Pacific and provides tangible evidence for verifying the fate of missing flight crews. In the case of the Australian fighter, military historians note it is likely one of over 600 aircraft reported missing in Papua New Guinea from 1942 to 1945, most still unfound or not precisely located. Investigating these wrecks requires an interdisciplinary approach. Geology, ecology, and the study of war heritage. Many aircraft have been reclaimed by the tropical jungle. Some now offer information about material corrosion and record the ecological impact of war on untouched forests. Each identified crash site is not just a historical marker, but a chance for families to learn the final resting place of loved ones after many decades. From a scientific and conservation perspective, discoveries like Willie Flynn's show the value of local knowledge, the crucial role of indigenous communities in field investigations, and the importance of preserving war heritage within the dynamic environment of the tropical rainforest. Discovery of the London warship cannon in the Thames. Underwater archaeology at the mouth of the Thames has yielded a discovery that goes far beyond an isolated event. A bronze cannon from the warship London has been recovered almost perfectly intact after lying hidden in mud and currents for over 3 centuries. The London itself was a symbol of English naval might in the mid-7th century, playing a critical role in major campaigns during the reign of Charles II. The ship's fate was sealed in 1665 when its gunpowder magazine exploded, splitting the warship in two and sending it to the bottom along with nearly 300 sailors and a wealth of military equipment. The cannon that has just been recovered is a mid-sized bronze gun cast by a renowned London foundry. It would once have been mounted on the lower deck, providing essential firepower for the ship in ferocious battles on the North Sea and the English Channel. On the metal surface, archaeologists found clear traces of corrosion and even marks from the original powder blasts together with the foundry stamps. These details allowed the team to pinpoint its origins and dating. Alongside the cannon, fragments of weapons, daily utensils, and personal items from the crew were also brought up, helping to reconstruct life aboard the ship from the command deck to the engineering compartments. This find not only adds to our knowledge of the weaponry and equipment used on Stuart-era warships, but it also sheds light on the transmission of military technology, naval defense, and offensive strategies as England transitioned from civil war to the Renaissance age. By examining technical details on the cannon and the ship's defensive systems, modern historians and naval engineers can now analyze the level of English naval technology, the role of shipyards, and the influence of shifting social and political landscapes on national defense. Beyond the technical significance, the London shipwreck also reveals countless personal stories bound to English history in a time of great upheaval. From sailors and shipwrights to the military commanders who once set the country's course. Traces of daily life, personal belongings, and organic material preserved in the buried cabins provide invaluable evidence for studies of military organization, survival tactics, and community responses to disaster. With each artifact brought up from the riverbed, the conservation and research project for the London continues to enrich the National Archive, helping to connect scattered historical data and decode how England evolved from a Civil War-torn island to a seafaring power, stepping into the Renaissance and expanding its influence worldwide. The lost city of the Kalahari Desert. Deep in the vast expanse of southern Africa's Kalahari Desert, the legend of an ancient stone city buried beneath the sand has haunted generations. The story first entered Western consciousness in the 19th century, thanks to Canadian explorer William Leonard Finini during his 1885 expedition. Feeney documented strange arrangements of layered rocks and ruins resembling artificial structures isolated in the desolate sands. In his report to the Royal Geographical Society, he described the scene as a gigantic pile of rubble, evoking the image of a city once alive, now erased by time and the desert. Since then, the legend of the lost city of the Kalahari has drawn archaeologists, geologists, and numerous international expeditions. Many teams have searched for ruins beneath the sand, yet no hard physical evidence has ever been found. What remains are descriptions of naturally stacked stones or geological features that may be the result of weathering and long-term earth processes, none of which can be definitively confirmed as man-made relics. Beyond Western accounts, the legend of a buried city is kept alive among the Kalahari's indigenous communities, particularly the Sand People and other nomadic herders. Their stories often speak of stone towers rising from the sand, the remnants of ancient inhabitants who left behind only a wasteland. Though no direct archaeological proof has surfaced, the persistence of these stories in local consciousness suggests that lived experience or collective memory has been transformed into intangible cultural heritage. From a scientific perspective, geologists generally attribute Kalahari's stone formations to natural origins, wind erosion, and tectonic activity. Some experts believe that unusual stone shapes can spark impressions of artificial architecture, especially when viewed in certain lighting or from unusual angles. To date, however, there has been no large-scale geophysical or archaeological survey robust enough to confirm or rule out the possibility of hidden ruins beneath meters of sand. Thus, the tale of a stone city concealed in the Kalahari remains an unsolved mystery, a testament to the enduring power of local legend and a spark for imagination and adventure in each new generation of explorers. If you find these mysterious stories fascinating, please share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you won't miss out on our next discoveries. We look forward to seeing you in the next video.